think that they acted out of fear, that if they knew that they were going to act, they were going to get spanked by you, so that affected their conduct in the future?
Object to the form.
Do you understand my question?
Ask it, repeat it, please.
Do you think that the spankings were effective because the boys were fearful of you, that if they did something in the future, they would have...
I don't think they were fearful of me.
Were they fearful of the spankings?
I would think so.
Did you ever consider that spanking children with a leather strap might be excessive punishment?
I never did think nothing about that because that was a rule when I went there to work. And I don't know how many years ahead of that it was enforced.
Well, when you first arrived, they were using a wooden paddle,
Yeah.
correct? And then quickly after that, they switched to the leather strap.
Leather strap.
And then for the next 30 or 40 years, they continued to use the same leather strap until the late 60s?
Until they stopped.
And why did they stop?
Well, I don't know if you have to, let's see, Mr. O.J. Keller, if I can't remember the department he worked with when he first came to Florida, but he was definitely against spankings, so I was told. And I met him on 2 occasions and talked with him. He's a nice man. But
And what was his job? How did his being against spankings impact the school?
I don't know if you all have that information.
I know it's frustrating, but they can't answer right now. Do the best you can.
I don't know.
You don't know? Do you remember when they announced that spankings were no longer acceptable at the school?
No, I don't remember the day or night when they said no more spankings.
Were you there when they decided there would be no more spankings?
Yes.
How did you find out?
Just talking to other people.
Well, the director or the superintendent didn't
Not
tell everybody?
Not necessarily the director, just anybody that was working there.
Nobody made a formal announcement that you were no longer permitted to spank?
Well, I don't recall that being done, no.
You don't remember why they said they would no longer permit spankings?
No. Now, the superintendent, he, of course, he and the director, I mean, they were always having their meetings, and I didn't attend any meeting that was discussed.
Well, it would seem to me that if you'd been in a culture that was permitting spankings for 10, 30, 40 years, and suddenly they stopped, didn't you say, why aren't we doing this anymore?
I didn't care nothing about it. Only thing I knew, the rule was made in Tallahassee and handed down to the boys' school. Now, I didn't have to ask no question like that.
And you don't, to this day, you don't understand why they stopped?
Why they stopped?
Yes, sir.
Well, the only reason I know is that there were people who felt like that they should stop and didn't agree, just like a lot of psychologists don't believe in parents spanking their kids.
But you don't know precisely why it was that they ordered that corporal punishment be stopped?
No.
I think we discussed earlier a gentleman by the name of Bird. You said you could remember there was somebody here named Bird, but you couldn't remember if it was Eugene Bird?
I don't know what his first name was, but and I don't know what his position was out there at the school. But the last time I saw him, the Bird that I knew was in Dothan. I don't know if he, I believe he was living in Dothan at that time. last seen him.
Do you know what his job was when he was here?
I really don't.
Do you know if he was ever involved or observed the spankings that took place?
I wouldn't think so.
Do you know if he ever observed the impact of the spankings, the damage inflicted on any of the boys?
I don't know if he did that or not.
He's quoted as testifying in the U.S. Senate and calling what took place here in the 50s as brutality. Do you think that the punishment that was inflicted by you and others in that time frame rose to the level of brutality on children?
Objecting for. Well, I don't know nothing about. I would think that a lot of people would say that's brutality, but some people who don't believe. I mean, some believe in spanking, some don't.
He described to the U.S. Senate, in describing the blows, he said they were very severe. They're dealt with a great deal of force, with a full arm swing over the head and down with a strap, a leather strap approximately a half-inch thick and about 10 inches long with a wooden formed handle. He was asked by a senator, "What is your opinion?" And his response was, "In my personal opinion, it's brutality." By the standards of today.
You're going to have to talk a little louder.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you understand what I read?
Repeat it. Well, I'm sorry,
No, I'm not laughing at you. I have to remember to speak louder, and I apologize. This gentleman who is described as having worked at the school, his name was Bird. His first name was Eugene, and we can't say if this is the Bird that you can recall or not.
No.
But in testifying before the U.S. Senate, he was asked to describe what happened, and he told them about beatings with a heavy 3.5-inch wide leather strap. That's the same type of strap that you've described for us today, correct?
Well, back to the handle. What were you saying about the handle?
He says the blows are very severe. They are dealt with a great deal of force. Do you agree with that there was a great deal of force?
Well, it wasn't a great deal of force with me, but when you got a fellow holding the strap up like this, it's different than what I did.
He describes it as being with a full arm swing over his head and down.
They would hold the strap like this, with, the end of the strap here, and then he's got the handle here, and then he would come down.
He says with a leather strap, approximately a half-inch thick. That's about the right
About
width.
like that.
Okay. And about 10 inches long with a wooden formed handle.
Not a wooden form. It was 3 pieces of leather evidently glued together for the handle.
And when asked what his opinion was what was taking place here was brutality. You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with it. I didn't like the job spanking boys, but it wasn't my rule. I just did what I was told to do or asked to do.
There's a description also in that time frame of a boy kept in solitary confinement found having eaten glass and slashing his own wrists. Do you remember such an event?
Boys would do things like this before they were locked up. One individual fractured both of his elbows to keep from going to work and school. And we'd have boys, I don't know what they use, I don't remember that, but cut their wrist. And that's whenever the people in the social workers or somebody to work with kids of that nature,
Is that the type of conduct that would land somebody in in Mr. Curry's office for counseling?
Well, there was other men too, like, I don't know if his name is on there or not, Jim Strong.
He can tell us.